Qatar's QSUITE business class is widely touted as the world's best, with large comfortable private suites and catering options that would rival many first class offerings. But given the product launched over 7 years ago, and with a new improved version set to launch soon, does the classic QSUITE experience and the onboard service still stand up to the high expectations? And what's it like when travelling as a couple? Let's find out as we try it out for the first time on a 7-hour evening flight from London Heathrow down to Doha. Let's get going. Now, we made our way down to Heathrow on a connecting flight with British Airways in Club Europe, and it was a pleasant enough flight which, shockingly for BA, wasn't massively delayed. So we made it down to Heathrow Terminal 5 with plenty of time to connect across to Terminal 4. If you're not arriving on a connecting flight, you'll be able to check in at the Qatar check-in desks and make use of the priority lines for business class passengers. We made our way through connections where sadly there was no fast track for business class, but we were really looking forward to getting into that Qatar lounge and checking it out. I've watched a lot of Qatar business class flights online, but most of these do seem to depart from Doha, so I don't really see much of this London lounge, so I was interested to experience it for ourselves. Unfortunately, we arrived at the bus connections just as the bus was leaving, so we did have a 15-minute wait until we could get on board, but we were soon on our way, and it didn't take too long to get over. It did help that we had quite a long connection time, so it was no stress at all. Even though we were travelling early November, Christmas seems to be in full swing at the airports. There were Christmas decorations up in Heathrow, the lounge in Newcastle been playing Christmas songs on repeat non-stop, and not even a wide variety, it was the same 4 songs on repeat. Definitely feels a bit too early for me. Now, Qatar have 2 lounges at Heathrow Terminal 4. The one on the left is for those with status, and the one on the right is for those with business class or first class travel. And this is the one that we spent our time in today. Now, it's not a massive lounge, especially when you compare it to their offerings in Doha, but it's a really nice space, nicely decorated, and it's got everything you'd need. There were some free pour wines in addition to the fully stocked bar that was further down, and plenty of comfy seating that mostly was next to windows. Again, not a huge space and not a huge number of seats, but given the number of passengers, it never seemed like it was too little. We were quite hungry as lunch on our BA flight was a little bit light, so we made our way over to the bar and dining area. Really good selection of wines, spirits and cocktails here, and we did spend a bit of time here later on just relaxing with a cocktail. But getting back to the dining, proceedings started with a refreshing towel and of course a nice big glass of champagne. In the centre of the room was a buffet which had a decent selection of food, and the selection and quality here was probably about as good as most airlines' business class offerings. However, in addition to the buffet selection, Qatar offers a la carte dining. We both decided to opt for the sushi selection to start, and every piece was really delicious and really fresh tasting. This was then followed by the seared beef steak for me, a little more well done than I would prefer, but still really tasty. And Kelly went for the mushroom pasta, which again she really enjoyed. I finished this off with a bit of dessert, went for a chocolate cake and some fruit. I would have gladly eaten a lot more, but with our flight in just a few hours, I wanted to save a bit of appetite for when we're on board. Elsewhere in the lounge, just worth calling out that all of the seating has plenty of charging points, and there's also very nice shower and toilet facilities that were kept very clean. As soon as someone's finished in there, the staff are straight in cleaning everything up. There's nice diptyque amenities available, as well as toothbrushes, toothpaste and shaving kits. And after about 4 hours relaxing in the lounge, it was finally time to leave and board our flight. Our departure gate wasn't too far from the lounge, and we were absolutely buzzing to get on board. Slightly chaotic at the boarding gate, the usual people just crowding around the gate, not letting people past, even though it wasn't their time to board, but we did get through, and we were amongst the first couple of people to get on board. Before we do, a quick word on the seat layout. Odd rows face backwards and even rows face forwards. For the window seats, you're closer to the window in the odd rows, and in the middle you're closer to the person next to you if you're in the odd rows. Our seats of choice for this evening were 1F and 1E. Getting on board, we were really excited about the seat. It just seemed like we had a huge amount of space to ourselves. Because we were travelling as a couple, the usual privacy divider that you'd have in the middle of the suite was removed, or at least put all the way down, and it gave us this big amount of space that was just for the 2 of us. Now, waiting at our seat was our bedding, which we soon got out the way and made ourselves comfortable. We'll come back to that bedding a bit later. And we started to get our things unpacked into the somewhat limited storage in this seat. Now, the seat is great, but one limitation that we notice is some of the leg room, so unless you put your feet up in the cubby, you don't actually have too far to stretch your legs out. Now, it's not much of an issue, obviously you can just put your feet up in the cubby, but it would be nice to have the option to be able to stretch your legs out without putting them up as well, especially since the overhead storage bins above our seats were out of use. So we'd initially put our bedding in this cubby. Once we got settled, the crew came around with champagne to welcome us on board. And as we sat and relaxed with that, we had a bit of a look around the seats to see some of the features. Now, over to my left there was a nice big shelf, and on this the crew placed a refreshing towel and also the diptyque amenity kit which comes in this box. We'll have a proper look through that shortly. Within the armrest is the one main storage area for this seat. And this also includes a bottle of water and your earphones. The armrest can be adjusted in height like this, and it can store a decent amount of stuff. Underneath the shelf to the left, there were all the in-seat controls. You also have multiple charging points, including a USB port. There's a place to plug in your earphones, and there's also a HDMI port, which I thought was a really nice touch, so you can actually connect your own devices to the screen. So for example, you could actually play this YouTube video through your Qatar Inflight Entertainment screen. You also have an additional controller for the IFE if you don't want to use the main touchscreen. Over my left shoulder was a small reading light and a hook that I could hang a jacket on. And above the seat there were some individual air vents, which was greatly appreciated as the cabin did run quite hot. The crew came around and handed out pyjamas, which were provided by the White Company, which we'll have a look at later, and I started to look through the menu to see what we'll be having on board today. There's a great selection of wines, champagnes, and a good few cocktails as well. Moving on to the food options, Qatar do dine on demand, so you can actually order your food for any point during the flight. Now, given that it was an overnight flight, I think myself and also most of the passengers on board just wanted to eat as soon as we took off, just so we could then get to sleep, but it's nice that you can eat whenever you want. Now, let's get the tray table down. You don't need to do the lever on the right, I think that's more to do the privacy divider, but yeah, let's get the tray table out and have a look at the amenity kit. Now, myself and Kelly were actually given two different amenity kits, so mine was a black box, hers was a red one. So they are slightly different for his and hers. Now, the actual products that are within them are the same, but the scent that they give you is different. So the products you're getting here are a body lotion, a face moisturiser, a lip balm, and then a perfume or aftershave. And in addition to that, there's usual flight socks, earplugs, and eye mask. Not the best eye mask though, I've got to say. And there are also some additional amenities in the bathroom, so if you wanted a toothbrush and toothpaste, you'll be able to get that from the bathroom. Same for shaving kits as well. But yeah, all good quality stuff. Sometimes Qatar provide it in a box like this, other times you will get a proper bag for it. I think it just depends on the route and the length of the flight. I did spray a bit of the aftershave, it was alright, nothing special, probably not my favourite scent, but still a nice way to freshen up. Now let's take a look at the Inflight Entertainment. Now, you get a really good size and high quality screen, which is great, and there's also a pretty wide selection of films and TV shows, including a lot of modern releases. Although I did notice they do have that annoying thing with TV shows where they don't have complete seasons for a lot of things, so I was watching House of the Dragon, but they only had the first 4 episodes of the second season. I also really like having the flight map up, but mine didn't seem to be working. Whenever I put the flight map on, it either didn't load and just gave me a black screen, or it loaded for a bit but then soon just reverted to a black screen. Kelly's was working fine, so it just seemed to be specific to my IFE, that one though. Additionally on board, Wi-Fi was available, but I did find that it wasn't really working for this flight. I tried to connect a few times, you can get an hour for free, but yeah, unfortunately every time I tried to connect it wasn't working. Qatar are in the process of rolling out Starlink Wi-Fi on their flights, which will make things super fast, and that will also be free to all passengers. But unfortunately it hadn't quite made it to this plane yet. Now, after we've been sat in our seat for a while, just looking around, getting all excited for the flight, we eventually started to push back as the safety demo played, and we decided to freshen up with the Diptyque refreshing towels. I was quite surprised to see that the crew did take a while actually to collect the champagne glasses and to collect the towels. They left it right to the last minute, so we were pushing back and taxiing before they came and collected all that stuff just before takeoff. Oh, and I think this here just shows what I was meaning before about the lack of leg room there. No takeoff views for you today since we were sat in the middle, but I would just say it was not the smoothest takeoff actually. I don't usually have an issue sitting backwards on a plane, but it wasn't actually the smoothest during takeoff this time around. But once up in the air, it was time to get that sweet door closed, get the seat reclined and nice and comfortable, and settle in for the flight. Before takeoff, the crew come around to take our food and drink orders, and we were able to say that we wanted this shortly after takeoff, so it wasn't too long before they came around with our drinks. I started out with an old-fashioned, and this was accompanied with a little bowl of nuts. And whilst these weren't warm, they were really nicely seasoned and very tasty. And the old-fashioned was pretty decent too. And very quickly, it was time to get our tray tables out and get ready for the onboard meal. Now, business class dining on Qatar is quite the event. I think they really make a good effort to make it feel like a proper meal and not an airplane meal. The tray table's set out beautifully, you've got a nice tablecloth that covers the whole thing, they give you this little fake candle, and you've got your nice selection of breads with nice butter and oil. And then both myself and Kelly had opted to start with the Arabic meze. Again, it was all presented beautifully, and it tasted absolutely delicious. Definitely going very heavy on the breads here, so I was definitely starting to fill up a bit too much. I highly recommend if you're flying with Qatar to go for the tomato chili oil to have with your bread, really tasty. After the first course was cleared, the crew got me another drink, went for a Cuba Libre this time, and they then brought Kelly the wrong meal. They initially brought her the prawn dish, but they very quickly replaced that with her correct selection of the chicken Wellington. And she really enjoyed this, said it was good quality. I did try it, I thought it was a little bit dry, but the bit I had didn't have too much sauce on it. I opted for the beef tenderloin with satay sauce, which it can always be a bit of a gamble when ordering a beef product on a plane. You know, it can sometimes be a little bit dry, but I was very impressed with this one. Probably the nicest meal I've actually had on a plane to date. So no complaints from me at all on that one. It might not look the best here, but a lot of that is just the lighting. So yeah, food absolutely delicious. The beef, it's, you know, not the most rare or anything, but it's really, really nice, and the sauce going with it is incredible. It's like a satay, but a bit of a tangy taste to it as well. This was then followed by a very generous cheese course, a good amount of cheese, grapes, an impressive amount of crackers as well, so I actually didn't run out of crackers, which is a rarity with cheese boards it seems. Kelly decided to not have any more to eat, so she got herself set up for bed. So while she was trying to sleep, I decided to watch some entertainment whilst I finished my meal. The earphones were quite good quality and they did a decent job of noise cancellation, and I went and watched the season 2 of House of the Dragon. Really enjoyed just sitting back watching this and enjoying the cheese board. The cheese board was really nice. It did feel a little bit weird to just be sat eating this fancy meal while Kelly's just lying asleep next to me. Or at least trying to sleep anyway. I then finished my meal with this nice chocolate dessert, and then I also ordered a Baileys on ice. It looks like I'm just having milk, but I promise it is Baileys. A lovely way to finish off the meal, and I was incredibly impressed by the catering on Qatar. I genuinely don't think you'll find a better business class offering. You'll even get caviar service on some of Qatar's flights. And this is while some airlines like BA are making massive cuts to their meals. Made a quick stop to the bathroom, which was kept nice and clean and stocked with good amenities. As mentioned before, you got things like toothbrush and toothpaste in these drawers. And there's also things like the facial mist from Dictique, which I decided to have a go at and spray in my face. I think that's how you do it, right? When I returned to my seat, the crew had set up our double bed, and this included a separate mattress pad that goes between the two seats to cover up the divider as well, so it does really feel like a proper double bed. So I made my way back to the bathroom and tried on the White Company pyjamas. These are really comfy and I have actually been wearing them ever since this flight. The foot cubby was a little short and narrow for my liking. I couldn't lie fully flat with my legs fully outstretched, so it wasn't the best night's sleep. I didn't wake up feeling particularly refreshed. I maybe got a couple of hours, and I did actually skip the breakfast service just to try and get as much sleep as possible. And I did wake up to find that the crew had left a lovely box of chocolates at my seat, which was a nice touch, and a good way to end the onboard service. So as we're coming into land, is this the best business class in the world still? I think for some things, yes, but for other things, no. So it's hard to really decide if it does meet that requirement overall. I think the QSUITE itself is the best business class seat for privacy, no doubt, the high walls that you get and the fully closing door. But conversely, it's also the most sociable. It's truly fantastic for couples, and also for groups of 4, you can open it up into one big suite for 4 people. And it's also one of the best out there in terms of food. I think Qatar's business class food in general will be very hard to beat. Where it falls down for me is for sleep. The foot cubby was just a bit too short and narrow, and the seat itself, even with a mattress pad, was a bit too firm when sleeping on my side, which is my preference. Finnair's Sky Lounge seat, for example, is a much more comfy bed, and I had a much more comfortable sleep on Qatar 787 on the flight after this. To see what that flight was like, make sure you subscribed. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.